Welcome back to another spine-chilling tale. If you have your own story to share, drop it in the comments or send it my way. Now, let's dive into today's nightmare. You know that feeling when someone seems too perfect, when their life looks so flawless that you can't help but feel a twinge of jealousy. That's exactly how I felt about my neighbor, Marcus Webb. Marcus was everything you'd expect from success incarnate. Mid-40s, impeccably dressed, with steel-gray eyes that seemed to see right through you. He was a prominent surgeon at the city hospital, the kind of man who commanded respect just by walking into a room. His smile was practiced, his mannerisms polished, and his reputation spotless. Our quiet suburban street practically revolved around Marcus. His wife, Sarah, was equally impressive, elegant, warm, and always perfectly put together. Their twin boys, Alex and Ben, were the kind of well-behaved children that made other parents wonder what they were doing wrong. The Webb family seemed to have it all. The pristine colonial house with the manicured lawn, the luxury cars in the driveway, and most importantly, what appeared to be genuine happiness. Then, 3 weeks ago, everything changed. Sarah and the boys vanished without a trace. One day they were there, waving from their front porch, and the next they were gone. No goodbye, no forwarding address, no explanation. The neighborhood buzzed with speculation. Some whispered about marital problems. Others suggested a family emergency. But Marcus played his part perfectly, the devastated husband and father, pleading on local news for his family's safe return. "Sarah, if you're watching this, please come home," he'd say, his voice breaking at just the right moments. "The boys need their mother. I need my wife." The performance was flawless, but something felt off. When the cameras weren't rolling, Marcus seemed normal to normal. I'd see him tending his garden, chatting cheerfully with the mailman, even humming while washing his car. For a man whose family had mysteriously disappeared, he seemed remarkably composed. My gut told me something was wrong, but I tried to dismiss. It may be he was just handling grief differently. Maybe I was overthinking things. I should have trusted my instincts. It started with what seemed like a simple plumbing disaster. I was settling in for a quiet evening when I heard an ominous gurgling from my kitchen pipes. Within minutes, water was gushing everywhere, flooding my downstairs and ruining everything in its path. The emergency plumber delivered the bad news: extensive damage that would take at least a week to repair properly. The house reeked of dampness, and the constant hum of industrial fans made it impossible to stay there. That's when Marcus appeared, like a guardian angel in a tailored shirt. "Terrible luck," he said, surveying the water damage. "You can't possibly stay here in this condition." "I'll find a hotel," I replied, already dreading the expense. "Nonsense," Marcus insisted, with that disarming smile. "I have plenty of space, and frankly, I could use the company. The house feels too empty these days." His offer seemed genuine, even charitable. Against my better judgment, I accepted. Marcus's house was a masterpiece of modern design. Every surface gleamed. Every room looked like it belonged in an architectural magazine. But there was something sterile about it, like a showroom that nobody actually lived in. "I've prepared the loft for you," Marcus said, leading me upstairs to what was essentially a converted attic. "It's the most private space in the house." The room was surprisingly comfortable. A real bed, a small kitchenette, even a modest entertainment system. But one detail caught my attention. The door had an unusual lock, heavy-duty and industrial, more suited to a vault than a guest room. Previous owner was paranoid about security, Marcus explained when I asked about it. I never bothered to change it. His laugh seemed forced, but I let it slide. That first evening, Marcus outdid himself. The dining room table was laden with an impressive spread, rich soups, perfectly seasoned roasts, and sides that looked restaurant quality. "You really didn't need to go to all this trouble," I said, taking my seat. "Cooking helps me cope," he replied, pouring wine. "Besides, it's nice to have someone to share a meal with again." The food was extraordinary. The soup was velvety and complex, the meat tender and flavorful in ways I'd never experienced. Every bite was perfection. "This is incredible," I said, between mouthfuls. "What's your secret?" Marcus smiled mysteriously. "Family recipes. Techniques passed down through generations." We talked late into the evening. Marcus was a gifted conversationalist, weaving stories about his medical career, his travels, his philosophy on life. For hours, I forgot about his missing family, forgot about the locked door upstairs. He had a way of making you feel like you were the only person in the world. But even the most charming performances have cracks. That night, I woke to strange sounds from below, rhythmic tapping, like someone drumming their fingers on a table. When I investigated, the sounds stopped abruptly. I convinced myself it was nothing, just the sounds of an old house settling. The next day, while Marcus was at the hospital, curiosity got the better of me. The loft had always felt oddly prepared, as if someone had been expecting a guest. As I moved around the room, I noticed one of the floorboards was slightly loose. I knew I shouldn't snoop, but something compelled me to investigate. Beneath the board was a hidden compartment containing a collection of flash drives, each labeled with dates from the past several months. My hands trembled as I inserted the first drive into the laptop Marcus had provided. What I saw changed everything. The video began innocuously. Enough, Sarah and the boys in what looked like their basement, seemingly unaware they were being recorded. But as the footage continued, the true horror revealed itself. They weren't just being watched, they were trapped. The camera captured their growing desperation as days passed. Sarah's pleas for help, the children's confusion and fear, and throughout it all, Marcus's voice could be heard, calm and clinical, explaining to the camera what he was doing and why. The final videos were too horrific to describe in detail. Marcus had documented everything with the methodical precision of a surgeon, treating his own family like subjects in some twisted experiment. I barely made it to the bathroom before I was violently sick. That perfect dinner, those incredible flavors, the realization hit me like a physical blow. Among my vomit, something glinted in the dim light. Sarah's distinctive wedding ring, a unique vintage piece I'd admired countless times, now stained and horrifying in its implications. My phone call to 911 was a whispered, frantic mess. "Please, you have to come quickly. My neighbor, he's done something terrible. I think he's going to kill me." But before help could arrive, I heard footsteps on the stairs. "You've been exploring," Marcus's voice called out, no longer warm and charming. The mask had finally slipped, revealing something cold and predatory underneath. The door to the loft rattled as he tried to force it open. When the lock held, a kitchen knife appeared through the gap, sawing at the mechanism with surgical precision. "Did you enjoy dinner?" he asked as the door finally gave way. His eyes, once merely unsettling, now burned with unmistakable madness. "I do hope you appreciated the special ingredients." He lunged with the knife, but desperation gave me strength. I didn't know I had. We fought across the small room, overturning furniture, crashing into walls. Just as his superior strength began to overwhelm me, the sound of sirens filled the air. The police burst in just as Marcus had me pinned to the floor, the knife inches from my throat. In the chaos that followed, shots were fired, and Marcus Webb's reign of terror finally ended. What the police found in that house of horrors made national news. Hidden throughout the basement were remains that confirmed my worst fears. Marcus hadn't just killed his family, he had preserved parts of them, like some grotesque collection. The investigation revealed the full scope of his planning. The flooding in my house hadn't been an accident. Marcus had deliberately sabotaged my plumbing, orchestrating the entire situation to get me under his roof. I had been his next intended victim, carefully selected and maneuvered into position. Like a piece on a chessboard. Months have passed, but the memories remain as vivid as ever. Therapy helps, but some scars run too deep for complete healing. I've learned to trust my instincts, to pay attention when something feels wrong, even if I can't explain why. People often ask how I survived, what gave me the strength to fight back. The truth is, I don't really know. Maybe it was luck. Maybe it was the small part of Marcus that wanted to be caught, to have his masterpiece discovered and admired. What I do know is that evil can wear the most convincing masks. It can smile and shake hands and host charity events. It can seem so perfect, so admirable, that we ignore the warning signs our subconscious picks up on. Marcus Webb taught me that the most dangerous monsters are often hiding in plain sight. And sometimes the only thing standing between you and becoming their next victim is trusting that little voice in your head that whispers, "Something isn't right." I survived, but part of me will always be in that loft, staring at that ring, and asking myself the same horrifying question. If that was Sarah's ring, then what exactly had I just eaten? If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Share your own encounters with seemingly perfect neighbors in the comments below. You never know what darkness might be hiding behind a friendly smile.